Hi there. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Follow Your Passion podcast. I'm your host, Erwin Wils. I'm a mindset and business strategist and founder of Millionaire Life Strategy. In this podcast, I'm interviewing my clients and other entrepreneurs that are following their passion and make a good living out of it. When you want to know more about me or what I can do for you, check out my website, millionaireLifestrategy.com. But first, check out this episode of Follow Your Passion. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the Follow Your Passion podcast. And today I have another great guest again. His name is Michael Laidler. Michael helps prepare his clients for mental fatigue by helping them to understand who they are, how they should develop themselves, and how to become the best version of themselves. He's helping high-impact leaders increase their personal development so that they can operate at full capacity in any situation. And why is it that any situation? Because he's very passionate about helping first responders. He's been with the police for several years, I believe 18 or 19, but Michael will correct me if I'm wrong. And he has done everything. He's been at border control as well. And you know how important it is to have a healthy mindset and to stay in your power. So he's doing that by providing in-person and virtual presentations to companies, public safety and law enforcement agencies, public and non-profit organizations, federal, state, municipal governance. Everybody that's open to hear his presentation and his story. He's offering keynotes, workshops, assessments, everything that's needed to become the best version, make them mental, flexible and stable, I would say. Welcome, Michael. How are you doing?
I'm doing great today. I'm happy to be on the show with you today. I'm really looking forward to it. Ever since we chatted about it, I've been thinking about ways to impact your audience, and hopefully I can deliver my message as well as you just delivered my introduction. I'm extremely excited to be here.
Perfect. So, Michael, what was your first passion to come to the to be a part of the police force? What inspired you?
Well, ever since I was a kid, there was an incident that happened here in the States. It was the O.J. Simpson trial. And part of that trial, they had the Bronco chase and just the excitement from seeing that from a kid. I was like, oh, man, I want to be a sheriff. I want to be a detective. And from that point forward, I studied law enforcement, went through high school, took classes, and then I was fortunate at the age of 19 to actually be hired as a police officer. And from that point forward, I've went through a lot of different things, good and bad, but all experiences that have led me to this point today. And it's been an amazing journey. I believe that it has showed me the differences between someone with a strong mental wellness and unfortunately people that don't have as strong as mental wellness. And I just believe that it's been a calling that has allowed me to serve my community in multiple ways and continues to allow me to serve them in a great manner.
Nice. And it's what you say, if you would ask a lot of young kids what they want to become, sometimes they're saying a pilot, but a lot of them also say a policeman, right? Because there's something about serving justice, making sure that everything is safe and sound and stuff like that. But you actually did it. When you were at the police force, did it? Was it like you thought it would be, or were there some difficult things around it? How was it for you?
Yeah, the excitement was there. I can tell you right now, it was none other going and serving the public, chasing bad guys, putting people away that wasn't supposed to be there, respond to calls, meeting people. That was an exciting part of it. Now, the other side was the long days, the bad traffic crashes, the going to people when they're sick and ill, seeing people on their worst days. But I think overall, and one thing I can say is that since I studied in school a little bit, I kind of understood at least the outside of it. I didn't understand every single part of it, but I definitely knew that it was going to be stressful. And I think it lived up to those expectations on a lot of days and a lot of occasions, but it was all worth it. And I did enjoy that.
Perfect. So, and now you're actually helping the law enforcement agencies, right? By helping the agents and everybody that is dealing with what you said, mental fatigue, but also with the stressful situations, to build a better mindset. I would say. How's that? I guess that's even more rewarding to you.
Yeah, yes, yeah. It's different because I've been able to impact him on a different level. And I wish there was more of me around 18 years ago when I started, because once again, I mean, going through some of those heinous scenes, not having an understanding of the kind of person that I was outside of the uniform. And I think that even almost 2 decades later, a lot of law enforcement, whether it's police officers, border patrol agents, correctional officers, a lot of people still identify themselves as the uniform. They identify themselves being just part of that entity. But I wanted people to scale back and say, okay, what were you before you put that uniform on? What are you when you take it off at home? That's what I want you to start defining, because if you're happier in those moments where you're actually at home, smiling, joking, having a good time, when you get to work, when you see those bad situations, it's gonna allow it to be easier because you know what you can go home to, and you know who you are from the beginning.
Yeah, because I can understand, as you're looking at also at people living in, working in emergency services, and fire departments, but also with law enforcement, that it's not just, let's put it this way, it's not just a job you're doing, it's like a calling, right? It's a purpose, and you live that, I would almost say 24/7. It's not something that you can easily switch off, I guess.
Oh no, not at all. And people say leave. And no matter, honestly, no matter in any industry, any job, and we can both know that you just can't turn it off when you go home, nor can you just turn it off when you come to work. And I think understanding that versus trying to go around it is a lot more smarter and efficient, because your brain just can't shut it off. Our brains are not designed. I mean, think about some of our dreams. We dream about things that we seen once 2 years ago, and all of a sudden it pops back up. When that happens to me, that says that, hey, my brain didn't shut off. So trying to have that balance is good, but understanding that there's both avenues that are going to blend together, I think, is even more important, because you can't hide from the stress, and you shouldn't, but you should know how to handle it when it gets to you.
Yeah, definitely. And I can also imagine that, and I think I speak for a lot of men out there, that especially when you're a first responder and when you work with law enforcement, that it's almost like it's hard to show your emotions, if you know what I mean. You're not supposed to cry or to show your emotions, while when you want to release some feelings and emotions, crying is a very good way of doing that, by sharing your emotions with others. It's helping you to release this tension of the emotions you build up during the day. But I can imagine that a lot of men, probably women as well, but I think more men, because they're more. You're not supposed to cry as a man, as you know what I mean. And I can imagine that if you're in a situation that's very stressful, or that you can relate to yourself, right? That those built up emotions, they need an exit. And I guess dealing with that is a very big part of what you help them with.
Oh yeah, yes, absolutely. And I think being able to show your emotions, which kind of sounds, it was what I know over here. You look soft, you look weak, but why hide something that's there? And being in law enforcement and being a man, you're kind of told and taught that, hey, if you show any kind of emotions, no one's gonna respect you, no one's gonna believe in you. But it's actually what makes you human.
Yeah.
Emotions make us human. And I think that people forget that. Like, it ain't like just because you're a male, or you have 8 children, or you're on the top of a proverbial food chain, makes you any different. It just means that you have a lot more responsibility, and you should show yourself even more to people. And it took me years. I mean, I'm not going to say that I learned how to do this 10 years ago, 18 years ago. It really over the last like nearly 2 years that I really started to understand that being able to show my emotions as a man was more of a attribute, because a lot of men can't do that because they've been told for so long that, hey, if you show your emotions, if you show that you're weak, or if you show that you want to cry, then now everybody's gonna look at you funky. And it's like, well, no, people actually respect that. They appreciate that. They appreciate the vulnerability. They want all of that because they want to see that things have happened to you, not just that you've been this tough person handling everything. Because we know in the end you can, and I think that's where the unfortunate buildup come from us as men.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we're not robots. We're human, like you said. Wonderful put, Michael. So I see a lot of quotes behind you. You know, I love this one. A winner is a dreamer who never gives up. I had a similar quote once, that a winner is just a loser who tried it one more time,
Mm.
which is actually also, you know, it's more or less the same. It's the moment you give up, you lose, I would say. But if you keep on doing it, keep trying it, finding new ways, you will find a way to achieve your dreams.
Yeah, and I don't have the quote up here right now, but there's a book by Simon Sinek called Infinite Games, and a lot of things we play, a lot of things we do in life have no ending. And our lives in general, I think, is the best version of an infinite game, because there's no saying, well, if I just because I'm losing now, I can't win in the future. And when you think like that, you're like, okay, if I keep pushing, if I keep driving, if I keep thriving and trying to figure out how to get better, it's going to be there. But a lot of times we think like, okay, I just got divorced, it's over. Or I just had this death in the family, it's over. Or I got fired from a job, it's over. And it's none of that is there. When you can't breathe anymore, that's when you've lost. That's the end of the game. Anything between when you are born and then when you die, it's all things you can win. It's just gonna be different levels of winning, of course, but you always have the chance to succeed and make it better as long as you have breath in your body. And I think that's what people should realize when they're trying to win something. Like, hey, if I'm able to breathe, I can keep trying. It doesn't have to end today, because I woke up again and that gave me another chance to do what I was trying to do.
Yeah, definitely. And I love the other quote behind you as well about leadership. You know, it's about making others better as a result of your presence and making sure that impact lasts in your absence. I love that. It's about leaving a legacy, and it also says that it's about empowerment empowerment, right? It's I share something with you, you pick it up, and you don't need me to keep it activated. You know, it's part of you. It has become a part of you, and how do you practice that yourself?
For me, that was one of my quotes just when I started my business. Actually, it is simple: create your legacy.
Mm-hmm.
I always want to leave some kind of impact on the people that I'm around. I don't want them to only realize that with me being there, that I'm the only option for them to get better. No, I want to make sure that when I'm there, I teach you something. And then once I'm gone, okay, you can keep functioning. I mean, because you have to. So some of the things I do is I delegate early. Some of the things that I learn and some of the things that are my responsibility, whether I work in a company, as I work for my clients, I want to show them what I'm doing, because to me, it's all about adding value. And if I can delegate a task or show you what I'm doing, it allows you to be better. Even when I do workshops, like people are like, you just gave me your workbook, you gave me the whole PDF file. I'm like, yes, because I didn't create this to sit on my computer. I created it for you to learn. And they're like, man, they just give us the printed copies. I was like, well, what if you want to give it to 3 other employees that show up next year? Now you have it, and now it allows you to grow. And I tell people this because I'm like, we can't take anything we don't give now, it goes to the grave with us. And then at that point, it's pointless to people. And just giving back the value that people like me and you have been able to get the last couple of years, the last decades, I think is important. But for me, delegating certain responsibilities when I'm a leader in an organization, and then obviously sharing everything I have. not holding back or saying, I don't want him or her to know what I'm doing, because then nobody's going to know. Because you and I can only impact so much, because we're on this show right now. What are other people going through that we can help out with? So my best thing is sharing as much as I can. That's why I do some of my YouTube stuff. That's why I'm on here, because I want to impact as many people. But that's how I leave my legacy, sharing and delegating and just being that source of information that allows people to grow.
Yeah, wonderful. And it reminds me of myself as well. When I was working in the corporate world, sometimes I got a question, especially the last years that I worked for a boss. I sometimes got a question from a colleague, and he said, "What do you do actually?" And I responded to them, "Well, I'm doing my best to make myself obsolete." And they started looking at me in a weird way. What do you mean you want to make yourself obsolete? Well, I said, I never want to be the weakest link in the chain, right? I want the company to function without me. So I don't like to keep information to myself. If you ask me a question and I have the answer, I'll give it to you and I'll teach you how you can get that information yourself the next time, because I don't want you to become dependent on me, right?
Right.
And that has always been my way. It's about coach. One of my coaches once said, what good is knowledge if you don't share it, right? Mm-hmm. And that's just it. Where it's about sharing. It's about helping the other person as well. And the funny thing is, and you probably notice it yourself as well, that if you help people like that, so you give them an answer and you tell them how they can get the answer the next time themselves, they tend to return to you with another question.
That is true. Yeah, reciprocity for sure. Yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
So if you look at yourself, about having a dream, having a vision, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
There's been one dream, really big dream that I've had. Mm-hmm. And there's an author, and I don't know how much you guys know him, a guy named John Maxwell.
Yeah.
He's a big leadership author. And I've always told myself I want to be the John Maxwell of law enforcement. So for me, while I don't know if I could scale to 30,000 coaches, one thing I would like to see for myself in my business is being able to replicate my services, replicate my teachings, and have other people going out into society and teaching it. And I think when that happens, once again, we talked about sharing information, leaving legacies. For someone like John Maxwell, when he's gone, his teachings will still be going and he'll be able to educate. Same thing with me. When I'm not around, I want my information that I've developed, things that I've learned, things I've experienced to still be shared with the world. Because once again, once you're in the grave, you can't take it anywhere. So for me, 5 years from now would be having a team of coaches, instructors that can deliver similar information that I have created and pass it along to maximize some of my legacy and to impact and continuously impact people even when I'm not there.
Nice. And I think we can shake hands on that, because that's the same vision I have for my business, to have like a team of at least 5 coaches working for me, a fully equipped back office, and myself on international stages, sharing my story, inspiring people and getting them to take action.
Yes.
Perfect. So when do you start writing your book, Michael?
I wrote one book last year, and it was called Great.
Nice.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was listening to a podcast back in March of 2022, just a little over a year ago. And I heard this one particular podcast say that they can help you publish a book in 90 days or less. Mm-hmm. One of the things about me is that I love challenges. And I was like, really? Because I hadn't really written a book. I co-authored one before years ago, and it was kind of a learning moment for me for that particular book. But this book I wanted to publish on my own. And I told myself that, you know what? Let's see if it's true. And honestly, there was a slight delay, and that was on me. But I started the book in March, the manuscript, and I was actually published to Amazon by July of that same year. So little over 90 days, but some of it was delayed on me. But My one book that I do have is called Greatness Beyond the Badge, the 3 key principles for self-awareness. And that talks about a lot of what we've been talking about on this podcast, just mental wellness as it relates to who you are, why you need to develop yourself, and then an actual path to that greatness. And I think that was a great starting point for me because it really comes out of what I'm trying to do. I am looking at writing another book this year. I'll probably do one on leadership this year. Because last year was more mental wellness. And I tell the viewers, don't let the title throw you off. Just because it says greatness beyond the badge does not mean that it can relate to, or it cannot relate to other industries. It's more of a symbol of my experience. And then the strategies and the tactics that I actually use in the book, you can use on any industry. Trust me, I taught this to human resources group. I taught this to energy groups, whatever, like it's a multitude of people, but it was a book that I wrote last year for that. And I could tell you, I actually I'm thinking about one right now that deals with leadership, and it's dealing with leadership and wellness and trying to grow that industry and helping leaders understand the programs that they have in place. Because what I'm learning that you can be a CEO and want this wellness program, you can be that entry-level employee and want it, but if there's no communication in between, it will never be implemented. And I've seen it, I felt it, and I've actually been that person that didn't know what it was. And I want to be that gap and that bridge in that book that merges the two areas.
Nice. And I think there's a lot of advantages for companies to gain there, right? The bridging the gap would be a nice title as well. Bridging the gap between something workforce and a high force, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, seriously, yeah. It's a difference because you ask CEOs now, they're like, yeah, we spent millions of dollars on this great program, but nobody uses it. I don't know why. Well, it's because the leaders in between you and your employees that you're aiming for, nobody knows what it is. So they don't know how to implement it. They don't understand their role. They don't understand that part of their leadership responsibilities is to build and assist the employees with wellness. And I just feel like a few strategies that are focused on that will really like combine the two areas.
Yeah. It reminds me of a conversation I had a few years. I think it's already like 2-3 years ago with another CEO. And he said that his main job was to have his directors be the best version of themselves. And he should create the environment that his directors could excel in. And the jobs of their directors were to create an environment where their managers could excel in. And the manager's job was to create an environment where the employees could excel in. So he had like a pyramid system, but then upside down.
Yes.
And I love that, it was like the CEO his only job was to create an environment where the next level could excel, and all the way to the work floor. And I think that is a great mindset,
Mm-hmm.
to have the people on the work floor excel so that the whole company profits from it.
Absolutely. And it's there. I mean, it's just a matter of people understanding what their responsibilities and their roles are. And if it's not outlined consistently, even if it's clearly, if it's not outlined consistently, it's hard to stay focused and on a path. So that CEO with that upside down pyramid, he was doing exactly what he needed to be doing as that servant leader and that role model of the program he was trying to bring out.
Yeah. And I think you also recognize it if you're looking at businesses, that you have those CEOs they mean to do it okay, right? They mean to do it well. And they say to the employees, if there's anything, my door is always open. But somehow that creates a threshold to go to the director's office, right? You can say your door is always open, but if you have a separate office, right, there's still a threshold to get into the room and start talking to the person.
Oh yeah, if you have a secretary, that it's not open door. I can tell you that right now. I've seen some very strong secretaries, and that person will not let you through the open door. They're like, "Hey, I know the door's open. You can see the door open, but you better not think about walking in. You better come back with an appointment. So yeah, I know what you mean. It depends on the size. And obviously the higher you go, the open door policy, you're right. It sounds good, but it should be more like open door hours or something like that. Like, hey, between 11 a.m. and noon, my door is open. Because if you just tell someone all day, it's realistically, we know it's not all day.
Yeah, yeah. Or I'm not sure if you ever saw that television series about what's it called? Where the CEO or somebody from the board level goes undercover to
Yes.
work on the work floor and
Yes.
experience firsthand how everything is going on the work floor. And then you can see a lot of those miscommunications, what the managers tell the board, or what's actually happening on the work floor.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it was called Undercover Boss.
Yeah,
I think
that's it.
Yeah. I think I was like, I felt like that. I've seen it a few times and it's always kind of comical to kind of see what's really going on. So you're like, ooh, and the boss kind of gets a wake-up call. And I know it's a little dramatized, but I mean, truly, if a boss really does that, especially at a bigger company, they might be surprised what they see. And it's unfortunate because once again, as a CEO, you have a vision for success and you want your organization to grow, but sometimes you can't see the ground because you're too high above it.
Yeah, exactly. Wonderful. So, I know you're also a dad, right?
Yes.
How
Lovely,
does
yes.
your current role, I would say, impact your private life? How do you help your kid with it as well?
One of the things that I created and I realized that a lot of leaders face, a lot of people, entrepreneurs that they face is time management. And one of the things that I developed, at least for not, I mean, well, it started with me because I had to test it on myself, but something I wrote in my book as well is called the 24-hour formula. And in that, I categorize all the different areas in my life as far as work, time with my family, time working out, time spent on myself. And what I do is I make sure that I have dedicated time for my family, specifically my son, because I want him to understand what I'm doing, why I do the things that I do, and eventually, if he likes what I'm doing, take over and continue on the path that I've created. Things that we talk about business, but we also talk about having fun. And I know that having fun is what he wants as a 9-year-old. So we can't always talk about business, but it was actually quite funny. I want to say it was almost 2 weeks ago that I don't know why or what he was doing, but he happened to find my website. And I'm sitting there, we're on FaceTime talking, and all of a sudden he starts reading my bio to me. And I'm like, what? And it was it was cool because it wasn't like I prompted him or said anything, but what I realized is that he's always watching, and I explained to him some of the things he read in there because we don't tell our kids everything. Not that we don't want to, we just don't think about it. And that allowed me to have another connection with him. So he understands what I'm doing. He knows I have a YouTube channel. He knows I have an Instagram, a LinkedIn. Now he watches some of it. I don't know how exciting it is to him being not, but I'm very transparent with what I'm doing. He knows I travel. He knows I do stuff like this because I let him know. I don't want to hide what I'm doing because I want him to understand the purpose of why I do it. And I explain to him, I do it because I want to add value to others. Things have happened in my life that I don't want other people to experience. Same thing with him. I tell him from a father, like, I want to see you grow without as many obstacles and hurdles that I've had to go through. Now, I tell him you're going to hit obstacles and you're going to have hurdles, but I want you to know how to work through them. And that's kind of what I'm building with, and I have built with this program and some of my teachings, because first and foremost, I am a father. And when everything's said and done, whether I have this business or not, I'm always going to be a father and a dad. And I want to make sure that that legacy is created so he understands that. But I want him to have the same values and the same success that I have as he grows up. But I know I won't always be there. I know at some point we can't do things I know we can't avoid: taxes and death. So I know at some point I will not be on this planet. And because of that, I want him to have the same tools that I have, and then hopefully he can create some more just based on what we talked about. But the balance has been really good, and he knows what I do. He helps me out. He's actually helped me record some videos in the past. So I
Oh,
try to
nice.
bring him in. Yeah, I try to bring him in as much as I can, being that he's 9. I mean, he can hold the camera really good. I got a gimbal, but it's little things like that I want him to be part of and understand, because I want him to realize the importance of continuously adding value to other people.
Nice, nice. And I think that it also, and you probably can agree with that as well, that um, when you're with your kid, I've got 2 boys. They're a bit older. They're now almost 15 and 16. But you learn from them as well, right? And sometimes you try to explain something and they don't understand it. You explain it in another way, and then you say, "Well, if I explain it like this, it even makes more sense than I did before."
Yeah,
And it's
very true.
it's about um, you keep developing yourself as well, right? You keep changing yourself, and it's wonderful to notice if your boys are uh, taking on the same attitude or the same things, and that's wonderful. Then you know that they'll probably do it as well when you're not around.
Yes, absolutely. All right. You gotta lead by example, and you don't want to hide, because it's someday your kids, all of our kids, are going to enter the workforce, whether we want them to or not. They're going to have to do something, right, when they're 18. I don't, maybe not, even if they, whatever they decide to do, they're going to have to make their own money at some point, and you want to ensure that they have the best chances to win, because
Yeah,
once again, this is an infinite game, and winning is always available as long as you can breathe.
yeah, definitely. And it's also, at least what I'm doing, is to make them understand they should be self-sufficient, right?
Mhm. Yes.
Uh, we don't. I don't say we never spoil them with presents or something like that, but we make them aware that it's not common, so to speak, right? I still remember when my boys wanted a phone and they had a phone, but it was just they could call and receive and send text messages, and that's it, right? And you could
Mhm.
drop it from 3 meters and it wouldn't break. But they want the smartphone, right? Because they wanted WhatsApp and other stuff. And I
Mhm.
said, well, um, the basic requirements you can call, you can be called, you can send text messages. If you want something else, you have to work for it, right? You have to to
Correct.
to make your own money. And that's when I started to have the first well, more or less job, part-time job, spreading around folders in newspapers. But it makes them self-sufficient. They understand nothing comes easy and you have to do something for it. They have to work for it. If you want something, you have to go after that. And it's not that it comes natural to you.
Yeah,
And I
and
think
that's kind of
making them self-sufficient, and what we do with our clients as well. What you do with the first responders as well, to make them self-sufficient, that they can
yes.
deal with the situation better and be able to come up with their own solutions.
Correct, because we're not always going to be there. And I even at times, me and my son's mom's not together, so she has them and I have them. But I let them know, like, hey, you're a little spoiled. But I tell him why, though, and I explain what I've had to sacrifice, what I do, and then obviously his mother has that same conversation. But like you said, I want him to know that with hard work, dedication, and continuously pursuing excellence, this is what you can expect, and this is
Yeah,
what you want to thrive. This is what you want to strive for. Because I mean, me growing up, I shared a bedroom with my mom for the first 17 years of my life. So it wasn't until I went to college that I had my own room. My son, he has 2 different households. Actually, you could say almost 4, because of his grandparents, that he has rooms. And I tell him that, I'm like, hey, there was a lot of sacrifice for you to get here. But if you don't work hard, you're not going to have some of these things. And you see both sides of it. I'm like, hey, you're experiencing a good life, but you also got to be humble. And right now, once again, at 9, he's very humble and he understands it completely. And he knows that he has a lot more than the average child has. And we continuously put that in, like, hey, although we give you a lot, you need to earn a lot. Right now, you just need to be making good grades. If you ain't making A's, or if you're not at least trying as hard as you can to get good grades, then some of these privileges that you have, like you said, just having smartphones or tablets, those can be taken away to make sure you get the good grades, because that's your hard work now. But yeah, it's important for people to know, especially with law enforcement or anybody, that hard work, dedication will get you there. And being self-sufficient is very important in your growth.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, it's what we also wish our clients to experience, right? It's not we're helping them to become mentally better and become better version of themselves and achieve the full potential.
Mm-hmm.
But it's they should be able to persist on that, right? To go further, and what you said, to keep on growing and developing themselves even when we're not around.
Yes. Yeah, it's important. I mean, I don't want to be getting a call at 2:00 in the morning saying, "Hey, how am I supposed to grow myself?" No. Hey, I gave you the tools already. Please go do it. We can talk about this at probably 6 in the morning when I get up, but let's not talk about this before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, do you mainly work with first responders? Those are all law enforcement, or is it also fire brigade, emergency services? What's your ideal group, Michael, to
I want
work
to
with?
say, usually it's police officers, it's correctional officers. I want to say 90% of my business comes from that group, just because that's what I'm most relatable to as far as career goes. And we both know that if I was a chemical engineer, for example, I would have a better relationship with engineers. But particularly since I have 18 years in this particular industry, it allows me to connect and understand the stories and the experiences a lot better. I've had success, and I expect to still have success in other industries. But as far as first responders go, my main group out of that group has been municipal police officers, sheriffs, correctional officers, federal agents, things like that. But I have spoken to other groups, firefighter groups, EMS. I have dealt with those groups at times, but I know the bulk of it, about 90%, is actual law enforcement officers.
Nice. And how is I actually saw a movie yesterday about with Nicolas Cage, 211. I'm not sure if you've seen that movie,
No, I
but
haven't, but I'm going to check it out.
yeah, he's about getting into retirement, and he said that in the car he was talking to his son-in-law, and he said it's actually a good time to retire because nowadays everything you do is recorded, right? There are smartphones, videos, webcams, whatever. Everything is recorded. Everything on social media. So he said that's it has changed the landscape a lot, right? Being a law enforcer right now, everything is recorded. They're everywhere. The cameras everywhere. And since you have been in the law enforcement industry yourself for 18 years, what's your vision on that? How it was back in the days and how it's now nowadays with all the camera, smartphones, everything around you?
So it's true, but back when I started, this was only 2005 when I first started in law enforcement. We didn't have cameras like that. We were just getting car cameras a little more. And even then, it was just becoming a requirement. I didn't have the body camera, nothing like that. But the more research I've done, the more people I've talked to, the body cameras are more of a savior than a hindrance. Now, if you have certain tendencies that shouldn't be recorded, that's another story. And that's usually the people that don't really approve of the cameras. But there's times that when I had a vehicle camera, that it's actually saved me from additional trouble. I can remember there was a time I was trying to stop a vehicle when I was in Tallahassee, and we were both out to the light, and I had information based on running his tag that he was going to take off, that vehicle was going to take off and create a pursuit. So I try to time it right. I got out my car. I try to go talk to him like, "Hey, I'm going to give you a traffic stop. Let me just get the keys." And there was a car in front of him, so he really couldn't go anywhere at the time. I knew the light was red. While I was sitting there talking to him, I could see like him looking straight ahead. Like I kind of already knew where his mind was at. And I was like, okay, let me just put the car in park and let me get the keys. So he slowly put the car in park, but then on the side of my eyes, I could see the light turn green. And I was like, crap. So I took a little bit of a step back. He put it straight in the drive and took off. And it was on. So by the time I got back to my car, I drove forward a little bit. He made a left. Unfortunately, probably the next intersection was, let's say, 300 to 400 feet. He hit a car.
Oh,
so why I say all of that is I never got a chance to even pursue him, and the camera showed that. So it actually saved me, because the first thing they said, hey, we want to see your camera. So right when they looked at my camera, they said, oh, he took off and he already crashed before you even start driving forward. You're covered. So what I say for that whole story is the cameras help out a lot more than people realize. Now, if you say derogatory things or you use a lot of profane language, then maybe a camera is going to be bad for you because it is all there. Same thing with social media or people recording things through their phones. It depends on what people see. Now, people record a lot more video than what's put out to the public. And a lot of times what the public sometimes fail to realize is that video's edited just for what gives the most exciting news. That's what's going to be shown on TV. But that's anything, though. Even when we record a video, let's say like for my YouTube videos, like when I record, I'm going to edit a little bit of it, but the parts that I'm sneezing or coughing, I'm not going to leave that part in there. That's not entertaining. So I'm going to keep the part that's informational and that gives you content. Same thing with what we see with our media outlets. We're going to get what's entertaining, what gets us excited. You're not going to typically or on average see that person or seeing a police officer help a kid cross the street. You're not going to usually see that because that's not exciting. But you're going to see the foot pursuits. You're going to see the people driving fast. You're going to see the bad incidents more. But I think that it is here. Social media is very fast. It's very live, which we've seen a lot. Yeah. And I think the body cameras are only helpful for people and police officers that are doing the right thing. And I think it saves a lot more because even people, when you deal with citizens, if they see a camera, they're going to think a little differently too, because they don't want their actions recorded in the wrong way either. They don't want to see, they don't want the public to see, oh, I just cursed you out. They don't want to see that come back to them. So they're going to scale back some of that negative energy as well. So I know when I was a police officer, I wasn't excited because I didn't understand the goal of them. I was like, oh crap, now I'm being recorded. But as it's evolved, I've really appreciated it because I see the benefits to it. Plus, I've done time in internal affairs, and I used to do those kind of investigations. And I was like, man, I wish I had a body cam that I could just help this person out with, especially if the citizen said, oh, Michael, you cursed this person out. And I said, well, let me look at the video camera. I look at it. Well, you were very professional. Case closed. So it has more benefits when applied right versus if you're doing something wrong, then you're not going to have a good day with that camera.
Yeah, I think you actually hit it right on the spot there, that if you use it correctly, it's definitely a benefit, right? And it also, I think it should make you aware that you're setting an example for society, right? So you have to be the lead by example, as a law enforcer as well, and then the camera will definitely help in that.
Yeah, and it's one of the few industries that have a camera on them all the time. So I tell people, everybody talks about professionalism, and I was like, well, go be a police officer. Go work in a law enforcement where you have to have a camera on you all the time, and that's reality TV. And let's take it from there.
Yeah, definitely. So since we're both in similar businesses, I think we could talk hours on the mindset and leadership and stuff like that. If you could share a little tip or a little piece of wisdom for the audience about following your passion, mindset, entrepreneurship, whatever you want to share, what would it be, Michael?
I could do the cliche of find your why and understand your purpose, but I think we've heard that so many times that it's a given. Like you should know what you're passionate about at this point. You should understand what wakes you up in the morning. I think the one thing I had to learn about my passion and entrepreneurship is consistency. I think that's the one thing that is hard to do. For example, and I don't want your audience to think that I've been doing this for years. About a month ago, I learned about something called a power hour. And that's when I spend 1 hour completely zoned into my business, going back and reaching out to clients, following up, looking for clients within that hour. And that has elevated my business to a whole nother level because it's keeping me consistent on growth. I still spend time outside of that hour doing it, but we're all busy. But at least 6 days a week, I will go and do that power hour. So for anybody that's an entrepreneur, anybody that has their passion, once you understand your passion, you have to consistently build it. You have to realize that if you're not building it, nobody else will, especially if you're building the business from scratch. Now, like what you and I have is our vision of having at least 5 coaches, a back room of people. Yeah, you're at a different level, but to get to that level, it took a lot of work. And even so, if you just say, oh, I'm not coming to work anymore, yeah, you have your 5 coaches, but over time, it's going to dwindle down because they're going to look for that consistency from the leader. So having something to do every single day to build your passion, I think has been what has elevated me. Even for doing podcasts, I can tell you the last couple of years, I probably did a handful, but over this past year, I've done probably 6 or 7 already because I'm consistently working on finding people and trying to add the value from this level. But consistency would be my word, because you're going to have a lot of slow days in your business and you're going to be excited about the peaks, but those valleys are going to be like, oh man, I didn't have any clients actually say yes today. But consistently doing it, people will say yes. People will bring you in. People will allow you to be international speakers, but it takes that time and effort to continuously push for that. Because if you're not pushing for it consistently, it's going to be hard to stay relevant, especially in any industry that you're in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Michael, because it's also, something simple like posting on social media, right? If you do it once every, I don't know, every month, every 2 months, it's out there, but the people won't find you, and you don't want to be the best kept secret of the internet, right? But if you do it consistently, like you said, like posting 2-3 times a week, then people will notice it and you will be found. And that's consistency is definitely key to making your business success, or at least achieving your goals and going for it, right?
Right. I mean, I even look at McDonald's. I mean, we all know what McDonald's is, but they consistently market and they make billions of dollars. So if they can do it, I think we have to do it as well.
Exactly. So, Michael, if people want to know more about you or get in touch with you, how can they do that?
The best way, and I think the most consistent way, is to find me on LinkedIn, and it's just at Michael Laidler. That's usually the most thing. I do have an IG platform. I do have my YouTube channel, which I'm really building with a lot of good content. Those are the easiest ways of social media. If you're looking for my website, it's Michael A. Laidler. There's an A in between, so make sure you put that A. If you don't, it's going to be, I don't know who it goes to, but it ain't just Michael Laidler. And then obviously, once you do those avenues, my email is michael@michaelalaidler.com. So any of those ways you can find me. But like you said, I consistently post on LinkedIn. That has been my most favorite platform over the last 2 years. It's a very professional environment. And I think that's where I've been able to add the most value, because that's where I get the most impressions. That's where I get the most consistency from this point. So people are looking for me. LinkedIn would probably be the best because I'm on it daily. Just checking, updating, providing content. But yeah, that would probably be the top one.
Perfect. Well, thanks a lot, Michael, for sharing your story, your experience as well, and inspiring the audience. I had a great time. I hope you did as well. And let's definitely keep in touch.
All right. Thank you. And good luck, guys.
I hope you liked this episode. Make sure to check out the other episodes, because each one is filled with interesting and inspiring stories and energy. Are you following your passion as well and make a good living out of it? Contact me and you could be my next guest. Would you like to follow your passion but are not there yet? Check out my website millionaireLifeStrategy.com and book an appointment to discover what I could do for you. Don't forget to share the podcast with your friends so that they get inspired as well.